Welcome to Aquarian Anarchy, everyone. Our quote tonight is from Ludwig von Mises. All rational action is in the first place individual action. Only the individual thinks, only the individual reasons, only the individual acts. And man, do we have a special individual to bring to you tonight. This last year and a half has been a challenge, but it's been a beautiful journey. And we've struggled on this podcast with trying to find a good way to describe what we do and what we're about. And we've also tried to find, effective ways to bring about the world that we want to see. And somehow somebody distilled all of this into one very simple phrase. I'm wearing it on my shirt, Hotep and Build. And there's nobody I've seen, let alone somebody half my age, who has embodied this more than our guest tonight. A legend in the making, King Randall. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Absolutely.
Yeah, so this is something that I've been watching as you have burst onto the scene, and I've been admiring what you've been doing. And like we talked about right before we came on here, I was curious. All right, so what is it that made this vision come about, and how did it evolve into what it is now? How did it start, and how did it get here?
Absolutely. Well, where I live in Albany, Georgia, we were at one point the fourth poorest city in the United States. We're currently number one for poverty in Georgia. And our crime rates are extremely high. And many of our young people are being killed, and other young people are committing these crimes. We just had a 4-year-old killed maybe about 3 weeks ago. 15-year-old killed after that, 19-year-old killed last week. Before that, a 12-year-old was killed. So many children are being killed, but being charged with these murders are other children. And it's kind of disheartening. And maybe I think when I was 19, we had a string of murders happen, and back in 2018. And we would have all these meetings in Albany. Everybody wants to have a meeting every time somebody gets killed. Let's have a meeting. Let's have a stop the violence meeting. So every time we go to these meetings, everybody's there with all these solutions. We leave, nobody does anything, and repeat. Somebody dies, stop the violence meeting. Everybody goes and intellectually masturbates, and nothing. It happens every time. So I started talking about the solutions that I want to implement, and everybody's like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Everybody was on my side, that sounds awesome, but nobody wanted to do anything. So I started actually doing it. So when I was 19, in January of 2019, I started the Extra Boys program. I started by taking 20 young men on a field trip to the African American History Museum in Atlanta, and we went to the Center for Civil and Human Rights, and taking the children to that museum and listening to the questions that they asked, listening to them not wanting to be in their conditions. That's where I knew that children are what was going to change the city of Albany. So after that, I did an oil change workshop. I taught some children how to change oil. I taught 20 young boys how to change oil at my uncle's house in his garage. And watching them receive their certificates that I made for them, it was a beautiful thing. Their parents were calling in and saying, he wants to put his certificate on the wall. He feels really good, because many of those children don't have good grades and things like that. So they begin to feel like they're worthless. And I really hate the grading system, because sometimes it makes children feel like they're not smart, when in all actuality, you're probably just not good at school. That other child may be good at school, but may not be smarter than you. That A means nothing to me. And sometimes I don't like that, but giving them something to take home and be proud of, it develops a sense of confidence and makes them feel like they're worth something. Then after that, I did a brake change workshop. I taught some kids how to change brakes on a vehicle. After that, summertime happened, and I lost my job that I was working. I was driving a forklift, and I lost my job, and I had already said that I wanted to do something for a young man. So I think that was God kind of pushing me to do what it was that I needed to be doing. So I took 20 boys and I said, you know what, I'm going to do something at my house. I don't have a building. I don't have any place to go. So I had it at my house. Right here in the same dining room, I got some small tables that I went and bought. I went and got a small dry erase board, and I made it happen. Every day I taught for the entire summer. I taught the boys how to change toilets, change ceiling fans. We did flooring. We grew our own food. I have about 4 acres at my house, so we grew our own food. We fixed on cars, and every day we were reading, learning vocabulary words. I was teaching them financial literacy. It was a beautiful summer, but during this summer, I recognized that probably 12 out of the 20 boys couldn't read. And when I say couldn't read, I had a kid who couldn't read cat dog, and he was in the 6th grade.
Oh,
and I was like, how are you in the 6th grade and you can't read or write, literally? And then, looking at some of the high schoolers, who couldn't read and who couldn't write, this was alarming to me. And this is when I said I wanted to open a school. And I told my boys, I was like, listen, we're going to open a school one day. I don't know how we're going to do it. I don't know when we're going to do it, but we're going to make it happen. So that's how that started, with the school idea. And immediately after that, I started a book club. I started reading Letters to a Young Brother by Hill Harper. My book club started off with like 2 boys. Then it grew, to the point where we couldn't fit in the local library anymore. We had to use one of our local small businesses every day. When she would close her shop, she would allow us to use the front of her building to be able to do our book club. And I did that every day for months. Not every day, excuse me, every Thursday for months. And it was beautiful. We had an 86% reading comprehension rate. The students were learning vocabulary. It was great. It was awesome. Then COVID happened. And when COVID happened in 2020, everything stopped. I couldn't do book club. I couldn't do any of our workshops that we were doing. I couldn't do any of the field trips. I mean, during that whole time, we'd done about 20 field trips. I'd been doing workshops, book club. I was constantly busy with them, and everything stopped. I wasn't able to do anything for the boys, and I didn't know what to do. So parents were still calling when the summertime came around and asked, like, was I going to do anything for the boys? And I was like, what can I do? Like, everything is closed. I can't go anywhere. And I said, well, if I'm going to have them, do something, then they're going to have to come live with me during the summer. And the parents were like, well, okay. So I had 6 kids come live with me for the entire summer of 2020. I went and bought some bunk beds. I put them in my living room, and we made it happen. During this time, I didn't have no money. So we were broke, but I still made it happen. We was eating $5 hot and ready's and beanies and weenies, but I had the work ethic. I learned how to cut hair. I learned how to fix cars. I was painting people's houses. So during this time of the program, I was still out trying to at least make $100 here, $20 there, to be able to feed the kids or at least drive them somewhere. I was driving this little broke down van somebody gave to me to be able to drive the boys. So we were stuck on the side of the road with that sometime. It would run hot and all that. We got plenty of stories. I drove them to Cincinnati to go to the aquarium and to the zoo, and we got stuck on the side of the road for 9 hours. And we have stories. We have many stories, many intimate moments. But yeah, so that summer, I had not been posting like I should have been posting on social media. And contrary to popular belief, I don't even post everything we do to this day. We have so much archive footage. And I posted on Twitter one time. I posted me and the boys doing some sheetrock in an apartment complex. This apartment complex allowed us to come work with some contractors working on some apartment complexes. And I posted it on Twitter, and it went viral. But it was weird because everybody that was sharing it were these people with these Trump freaking profile pictures and MAGA this and all that. And I was like,
it brought the heat to you.
I was like, what? And at this time, and I'm extremely, open about talking about how I hated white people. Only reason I hated white people was because of everything, I'd heard, and the white man did this and everything, just all
did do a bunch of shit. Be clear.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. But the thing was that's not happening to me, right now. It wasn't affecting me. It's just I was upset about crap that happened before and listening to all these, guys talk about the white man, this and that. But these guys weren't doing anything. And then I came to realize I'm actually out here successful and doing stuff, and nobody stopped me. And that's not to say ignore, what has happened, be clear. But I think at that time, I was taken back because I was just like, why are all these Trumpers, racist people sharing my stuff? Then they were like, can you make a GoFundMe account for your school? And I was just like, okay, well, we'll make a GoFundMe. We raised like $20,000 like the first week. And I only had like 4,000 followers on Twitter that came overnight. And so we'd raised like $20,000. Then this guy named Patrick He's a big supporter of University of Texas in San Antonio.
Mm.
He reached out and he was like, I'll match up to $5,000. We raised that. Like, it was raising money super fast. Like, all these white people were reaching out and asking to help. And I was like, this is nuts. Like, so then I started listening to people like, Brandon Tatum or whatever, like to begin with. And that's kind of how I got into the conservative space. And what was crazy was I've always thought like that. However, the things that they were saying were on the Republican side. I never heard anything Republicans had to say, because I never, or conservatives, because the first thing we say is, oh, they're racist. So we don't listen to anything they have to say, but not realizing they say a lot of things that we agree with in the Black community.
Quick question. Yeah.
What's up?
So with like, oh, wait.
No,
so with being a young Black man and what you call it, do you find that like there's a lot of conservative values in the Black household? Am I fucking frozen? Are you kidding? Oh
no, you're
not frozen. No, you're not frozen. But no, yeah, that's everywhere in the Black community. We are very conservative, very, very conservative. Even I saw this viral tweet. Somebody was like, Black men try to act like they liberal, but they really conservative. I'm like, yeah, we're extremely conservative. We want to conserve our families. We want to conserve our manhood. We want to conserve traditional family values. That's what we want to conserve. But the stigma of, oh, Trump is racist, oh, Republicans are racist, or conservatives are racist is, that's what stops us. And after we went viral, then we got invited to the White House. And then we went to the White House, and it was a beautiful thing for our boys who had never traveled anywhere, never been outside the city of Albany, for them to take their first plane flights to go stay in this super nice hotel. I mean, it was a beautiful thing.
Nice.
And after that, that's kind of where we got into the conservative space. And I was still doing work. I was still boarding the kids because they still weren't at school. So I had got a new round of children. After the summertime, I had children traveling from different places to come, stay with me and get the teaching. And I was still doing book club. I had to do it at home. I started back doing workshops after everything calmed down. And fast forward to 2021, we were raising money for the school, and I got into an argument with Roland Martin. Connection trouble. I got into an argument with Roland Martin back in March on his show. And maybe 2 or 3 weeks after we did that interview, it went viral on social media, and people everywhere saw what I was doing, from every space, conservative, liberal, whatever. And what was crazy was people was like, are you like the first Black conservative to go on CNN and they highlighted you? And it was beautiful. I went on CNN, Fox, OAN, Kelly Clarkson show. I mean, all these people from everywhere were like, you are 21 years old and you are opening a school. What the hell?
And now you made the big time. You're on Aquarian Anarchy.
For sure.
Right. Right.
So
exactly.
I want to dive.
Like, who gets to meet Chad?
right. I want to dive into a few things that you said there. The first thing that I want to say is I have 3 books I'd like to add to your library. They're the same book, but I'll send you all 3. I have 3 copies of Adam Kokesh's Freedom. I'd love to add it to your book. If you can get that address to Chad, I can send you all 3 of them. Because I want to see what you want to see. I want to see free Black men taking their power back and rising. I also want to, so that was one of the things that I wanted to point out. The second thing that I want to point out is I'm not going to be Roland Martin, in that if anybody has the chance to see that interview, don't bother, because he doesn't, Roland Martin does not let King Randall talk. You've already talked more than the entire interview.
I think he waited like the last 5 minutes, and he's like, "So what is your work again?"
Right.
God, you have an opportunity to talk to this trailblazer, and you're not doing it. Come on.
Right. And the second thing I want to point out is I am not a conservative. I don't want to conserve shit. They've already tore down everything that y'all are trying to conserve. That shit's gone. And I'm a radical. And being a radical, I want to radicalize the Black community. And I think that what you're doing by empowering people in their strength and building them up from their core is how we get to freedom. And all of us that have these ideas and thoughts, those are all great. But what you said earlier, when you were like, we all have these great ideas and then we go back out and nobody does anything, that's the fucking problem.
Yeah.
I have ideas too, but the difference is I'm putting and you do too, and we're putting those ideas into practice. The ideas are great to start the process. They are not the process itself. So I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in.
Yeah, and that's so.
Absolutely.
I'll use that as a way to bring this quote that you had from on stage there at the Solutionary Summit. You said they said to sum up what you want to tell everybody in one sentence, and you said find your work ethic before you find your purpose. Explain that and like how that ties into what Marcus was just talking about.
Absolutely. So if I made mention earlier about the things I had to do to be able to support the boys before we became a name. And my boys have watched me work, to build the program. They've watched me put in 100%, trying to make it happen. Long nights, lights getting cut off, eating stuff we don't want to eat all the time, being stuck on the side of the road, etc., but never giving up, staying steadfast and believing in what we were trying to do. God will grant you your purpose. If not, you already have your purpose, but he needs to see you work. And I think even if you're flipping burgers or whatever, you need to put 100% into whatever you're doing. That's what I believe in. Work ethic before purpose. Because how you gonna get your purpose and you don't have any work ethic? So now I know what I'm supposed to be doing, but you aren't doing anything. You're not putting in the work. You're not waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You're not, putting in that work. You're not studying what you should be doing. Like you can find your purpose. Oh, I'll need to find my purpose. I don't know what I'm here to do. Well, work ethic. Find your work ethic first, and then when you find your purpose, you'll freaking go 100 miles per hour.
How did you necessarily find your work ethic? Did you find it when you had the boys and you had to shoulder the responsibility of them, or were you a lot younger and you were, set on being disciplined, and there are things that kind of made you a disciplined man who's increased his work ethic due to the boys?
Growing up, I had a stepdad, my former stepdad, the old man that stayed behind us, the guy who stayed down the street, and the guy who stayed a little further down the street. All these men helped to raise me and make me the man that I am. I know people are always like, oh, King Randall, you're special. I'm just like, no, I'm just a regular kid who had a dad and who had men in his life. That's as simple as that. And so they taught me all the things that I know and all the things that I do. My uncles included, my manager included, all these people, that I have in my life. I have a circle of elders that guide me. But growing up, I had a work ethic because we did everything. I mean, my former stepdad, he taught me how to build everything. We built all of our sheds in the backyard. We built all of our dog houses, chicken pens, rabbit pens, everything that we had, in the backyard, we built. I mean, we grew all of our own food. Anytime we wanted to eat at home, we went outside and picked it. He taught me how to make grills. We made grills out of gas tanks. I mean, like literally I was welding at 12. So we made our washroom outside. Like we turned our washroom in the house into a bedroom, and we ran plumbing under the ground all the way outside to a shed we built, for our washroom. We ran electricity from the house all the way outside. Like I could do all of these things. And I didn't understand how important it was at the time, but now I understand it because a lot of these children don't know how to do it, and I can go work with my hands and do anything. And so I learned all that growing up. Then as a kid in high school, I was always the different kid. I wore a suit to school every day in high school with a briefcase. All my classmates will tell you, if I didn't have on a suit, they looked at me like I was crazy. Like, why you don't have on a suit? Like, what's wrong with you? Like the first 2 years of high school, I tried to, do the fitting in thing, because when I was in middle school, I'll never forget when I was in 6th grade, I got my yearbook in the room actually, but my 6th grade yearbook, what's crazy is I only have like 2 yearbooks from school, but I have that one in particular. And my 6th grade year, I wore a suit to picture day. Everybody picked on me the whole day, from the beginning to the end. They destroyed me. It was crazy. I'll never forget it. And I never wanted to wear their suit again. Never wanted to wear a suit ever. But when I got to high school, and my mom wasn't poor or anything, I just didn't want to wear what everybody else was wearing. So when I got to high school, you know, my mom, you know, had money and stuff. So I was like, well, just buy me polo and stuff. Maybe because that's what everybody was wearing. They want to wear this and that. So I finally get the nice polo stuff. And they're like, oh, that's fake. I'm just like, well, what y'all want me to do? Like, I just like,
you can't please everybody out here, G.
You can't please everybody. Like, then they got mad because mine looked better than theirs. I'm just like, come on, man. Like, I don't have time for this. So eventually I just started being myself again. I started wearing suits. I had a briefcase. I wore to school. I had brought to school every day, never had a book bag. And I was like the school like leader. I was voted best student by all the teachers. I was voted most likely to be famous. I mean, it's so much happened in high school. I was able to speak. I started speaking at other schools while I was still in high school. I turned into a motivational speaker. My principal would allow me to skip class to go speak at other schools.
Awesome.
And that was beautiful, you know. And I was the captain of the culinary team. I graduated with an associate's degree in culinary arts. That pulled a lot of work ethic out of me because culinary school is a tough task, and being 16 years old, trying to get a 2-year degree and doing high school at the same time, work ethic, got to have a lot of it. Because we had classes, you talking about getting out of school during the day and then having to go cater an event all the way to 12 o'clock in the morning, you know, and then going to school the next day. Like, it was tough, you know, but I got my degree in 1.5 years. It didn't even take me a full 2 years because I put in the work. I didn't take no summers off, anything. I put in the work. And that transferred into when I went to the Marine Corps. That put a whole nother work ethic in me. So it's a lot happened growing up to put that work ethic in me. I've always had the work ethic. I will always have the work ethic. It's just going to get better and better.
That's what's up.
Nice.
So one of the things that happens that we've seen is that I think, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it seems like the approach of trying to grow good, strong, confident, skilled young men because of what has happened to masculinity, what the attack on that, and like the nuclear family and everything. We started a blog with you can see I got the Hotep Nation banner back in the background there.
Yeah.
But with Hotep Jesus and some of the other guys, Ant and Jonesy, and shout out to all the writers and everything. We have the Men of Order blog now where we're trying to help provide a place for you know, young adult men to get some of the information that they need and have a place to go to get, you know, health and nutrition and fitness and business and finance information. You talked about the kids coming through your program, those boys, and getting that certificate and how proud they were to put that on the wall. Like, explain what it means to someone to not have a helpless feeling and to feel like they can do something. And like now there's like, oh, I have this skill now. I have this strength now that I didn't have before. What do you see? Like, does it manifest in like their demeanor changing?
Yeah, absolutely. It builds a confidence in them. You got to think a kid who's always making bad grades and doesn't know how to do anything, they literally don't have anything to be proud of themselves about, because everything that they do know how to do is dumb, like smoking weed or knowing how to roll a blunt or going to steal a car. You know, just that's what they do in the hood now. So that those are their, you know, rites of passage. Those are the things that you can say you're cool about. But if I teach you how to work on a car, you can go show your mama you know how to do it, and you're proud of yourself. She's proud of you for something because you don't make good grades, you don't do anything special, you don't play sports, you know, you're just sitting at home, you know, you make whatever kind of grades, but you can fix a car. I can change the ceiling fan, ma. You know, I can paint. Hey, mama, let me buy you a rose. You know, because I, you know, teach them how to cook, or I'll teach them how to make an omelet. Just little things like that. To see those kids get so excited. I remember the first year, first summer camp graduation. I taught all the boys how to make omelets one day. And one of the moms like got up and almost cried. She was like, to see my son in there like trying to make me an omelet was just the most beautiful experience. Like, she was literally about to cry because she was like, he came home and he was like, I'm cooking everybody breakfast. I'm gonna make everybody an omelet. Like, just little things like that. We all was huddled up in our kitchen, you know, my kitchen, and I had them one by one come by. You know, I all had the eggs and showed them how to do it, you know, using the little skewer or whatever. Like, it was so beautiful. I showed them how to flip it, you know, ask them what they want on it. And, you know, they were at home, you know, the mamas were sending me pictures of omelets they made and stuff.
Very
And I
cool.
didn't tell them they had to go home and make it. They was just like, nah, I'm finna go home and show mom I know how to do this.
That's right.
You know, but it make you feel good about yourself, you know. And
No,
my
you
mama
want
eat
to
my food.
show it off. Yeah, you want to show it off. Exactly.
So, you know, as a man, you know, that's just nature. We want to show off. We want to show what we can do, you know. So is to show a young man that he can do something, you know, to show him he has the capability of doing something, you know, that breeds a entirely different demeanor, you know, in young men. They walk different, they talk different.
Fire, man.
Yeah, it feels good, you know, to know how to do something. I mean, like, and I never toot my own horn, but you can't make me feel bad about. I know how to do everything. I can weld, I can cut hair, I can lay brick, I can change a ceiling fan, I can grow food. You name it. I can
move to Indiana.
Hey, hey, look,
I love to talk about it.
what's coming down the pike is we're gonna need everybody's gonna need to know as much of that shit as they can, because you don't know what you're gonna have to be fending for yourself for coming up.
Exactly. And I think that's important. Even with us doing wilderness training, I can, you know, kill animals, I can skin animals, I know how to find food, I know how to make a fire, all that stuff. You know, that we got to teach the children how to do all these things. So, you know, doing wilderness training, firearms training, you know, all of these things, even just basic family training, how to, you know, court, you know, how to take care of your family, just things like that are important. And that's what I want to do at our school. Like, our school will be teaching all of that from top to bottom in different phases. And that's what I've been working on for the past, you know, few days, actually. Like, I've just been all day, like, working on what the phases will be looking like. Where do I want the school, you know, here, you know, in a few years, you know, just all of that. I've been constantly working on that because I need it to a point where it's affecting the children. They're actually changing, and they're actually changing their lives, and they're able to affect changing the communities where their grandchildren will live in the future.
For sure. And it's not going to take a generation. It's going to, you know, it's going to take a few generations for people to start really, you know, figuring shit out.
Right.
One of the things, sorry to go back to the Roland Martin thing, but one of the things he couldn't even fathom the idea that you can do some shit without government. He couldn't even, that his brain didn't even register with that.
It was trying to be so like, oh, the road uses government. Like, bro, shut up.
Right.
Come on, dog. Like,
right. Yeah. And what you're talking about, you know, my wife and I talk about this quite frequently, that they're doing
Roland Martin. Why?
No, not Roland Martin. No, this topic. I'll never watch that fool again. But to be clear, what we talk about is that the government is doing a rope-a-dope right now. They're getting you to where, you know, they can raise your taxes to God knows where, these high things, and that's not sustainable. They know it's not sustainable, and what they're going to do is they're going to have you paying 50% of your income. This is just on average, 50% of your income to taxes, and then they're going to say, "Oh, we can't do that shit anymore because it's too expensive, and we're going to keep your taxes at 50%, and we're going to drop all that safety net
all those
out
services
from underneath
and everything else." Yeah.
The difference between, frankly, the four of us and many of the people that we kind of associate with, the Hoteps, many libertarians, those kinds of people, we'll be all right. We're not going to be great. It's going to suck for a moment. But because we've built up these skills, like you're talking about, we'll be okay. What you're doing is you're taking that to the next step. I've got kids. I definitely have instilled in them. My son can work circles around me on a car, as an example.
As he should.
Right. I've instilled these in my kids, but I haven't done it to my community yet. Started that last weekend. But what you're doing is you're passing on those skills. And that to the state and to government is very, very dangerous, because when they're not looking at them as their savior, they start looking at other things. They start looking at themselves. They start looking at God. They start looking at the real things in life that matter, not the cult that is the government.
Right. Absolutely. I feel like earlier somebody made a comment on my Instagram page when I was talking about the poverty in Albany, and I was saying, you know, how Albany, Georgia is going to thrive because I'm going to continue fostering an environment for our boys to be able to execute the vision. And he was saying, yes, that's why it's so important to vote. And I'm like, how did you get voting out of that? Like, I don't understand why voting has our people in a chokehold. Like, voting has, like, I don't understand. I'm just like,
we're so stuck on being legal. We're so stuck on, having to follow, because Black people were put into this cookie cutter. You have to do this, this, and this. It's evident through our generations and our ancestors that have been brainwashed into thinking, yeah, we got to follow what we've been told to do. Like, no.
I'm like, I replied and said, we've been voting for the same trauma since the Civil Rights Act. So why would I recommend that when looking at the conditions of our community? It clearly hasn't worked. And honestly, our communities are in a worse condition than they were in during the Civil Rights Movement. But that's an entirely another conversation.
But look, it's not exclusive to one political group or one ethnic group or anything like that. Like, I tell the same thing to white conservatives. Like, man, y'all been trying to get Roe v. Wade overturned since they made that decision, and y'all got people putting up Planned Parenthoods and all this other stuff all over your neighborhoods, and you're not doing anything, or not enough of y'all are doing nothing. Y'all are investing all this money in paying for Republican politicians' campaigns to tell you they're going to do something about it, and then nothing happens. Instead, you could put that money in a clinic across the street that actually helps women have babies and adopt, put them up for adoption.
You have to compete. That is the thing.
Exactly.
You have to bring a competing force. Felicia Killing says this all the time. You have to bring somebody to compete. That is literally it. You can't. They literally, that's like CRT. She always says, stop arguing about critical race theory and come up with a new knowledge. Like, stop telling them to ban critical race theory. Just do something new and compete. It makes no sense. Like, even I was doing an interview with a magazine. They were talking about how, rightfully so, some Republicans are, written off or looked at as racist or whatever like that. And I'm just like, that's because they don't show up in the community. They say the same thing. Well, we're not going to show up because they're going to vote Democrat anyway. Democrats don't say that crap. They're going to go take their asses out there to
Texas, Virginia, Georgia,
every red state. They going to stay out there for 20 years and make sure it turned blue eventually.
They were clowning Stacey Abrams. They're not clowning her anymore, are they?
You know what Stacey Abrams on her way to? Texas. You know what's finna turn blue? Texas. And I don't understand why they won't compete, man. They refuse to compete with the whole unwinnable district conversation, all that. And me, I'm not arguing about my school system. I'm not about to find no politician to come fight them. I'm not trying to elect nobody new to school board. I'm going to start our own school. Period. Yeah. I don't have time for that.
Like you said, when Roland kept pressing you on it, it's not to say that there aren't people who can do that, but the hand is not meant to kick the football. The hand throws the football.
Thank you. I told him we have different parts of the body. Right. I said, listen, we do need people fighting for voting rights, sure, but that ain't my fight. And you can't tell me that all of us need to be fighting for voting rights. I don't have time for that. I literally don't have time.
If all we all did was fight for voting rights, who the fuck would actually teach the kids? We have no teachers. Nobody. We just have voting rights activists.
Listen, I told them they do not care about the kids. I told them they don't care about the children. I will tell them straight up. I'm like, y'all don't care, bro. I'm like, you cannot, especially people here in my city. People in my city can't stand me for no reason. I don't bother nobody, talk about nobody. They have all these different narratives that they create because I do the work. I'm like, y'all don't really, it shows that y'all don't care. I'm like, because all this crap y'all say, oh, the kids need this, the kids need that. I literally have them come live in my house. I literally had 36 kids come stay at my grandma's house for the summer for 2 months, literally juvenile delinquents this past summer. And I didn't talk about it that often. I didn't post it every 5 seconds, but I'm just like, y'all are not going to do that. Mr. Pastor that tells me that I'm not special and I'm not the only person doing work. Okay, you go take 36 kids and put them in your house from the juvenile court system, and we're going to see how that works out with your big old church and the Mercedes Benz and all that crap. You're not going to do that or whatever. Yeah. So it's,
I got to get into this with voting rights. Emma Goldman covered this. I can't remember the book, but she covered it thoroughly. It was right before women got the vote. And she said, fuck women getting the vote. That's stupid. A bunch of fucking men have been running things forever and they fucked everything up. Do you really think a bunch of women are going to change all that? It does not fucking matter if you're white, pink, purple, or blue. People that flash bomb your kids in your neighborhood, because that's who we're talking about when we're talking about government. We're talking about people flash bombing your kids and it's the wrong house in your neighborhood. Those people do not care if you voted. They don't care.
Nope.
They care that they have power. The solutions come when enough of us say, go fuck your voting. I'm going to change things. And that's what you've done. And man,
You're getting us in trouble with Sonny Johnson. Watch out now.
Judges. I love Auntie Sonny. She always says she'll post every 5 seconds. I'll do anything for King Randall. She loves me to death. But Judges 7 talks about the 300, the movie 300. You only need 300 to fix it. And I've talked about that, and I just started talking about that. Somebody sent me the scripture, and I started talking about it because I'm just like, you're that is so correct. Like, you only need 300 fortified, intellectual, young men to go and start fixing this city. 300 is a lot. Having all of them become better versions of me, because people are like, oh, can we replicate you? No, the Exo Boys is creating way better King Randalls, I promise. I'm giving them knowledge at 11, 12 years old. When they turn 30 or 29, they're going to be unstoppable. And that's what I want to happen. They need to be way better than me, so that's what's going to happen. That's how we're going to change it. We have to change them, now. And looking at, Albany, I mean, we have 400 churches here, but God isn't present, and I don't understand why, the churches, they don't. I try not to talk about them so much, but it annoys me.
Hey, you're going to have to point out the facade.
Really, I'm like that. We got mega churches here. The churches are the best looking thing in Albany. Literally, we got beat down buildings and no type of skyscrapers. Our city logo has skyscrapers in it. Ain't no building as big as that. The biggest, nicest facility in the city outside of the Civic Center is a church. And I'm just like, how does this work? We literally are the number one for poverty in Georgia. And all you teachers and doctors and everybody driving your Benzes want to go to church and pray for the Lord to stop the boys from killing themselves. Oh, Lord, please stop the boys from killing themselves. Lord, please help them. Well, God ain't the reason they killing themselves. You the reason they killing themselves. Stop walking around here talking about you care about the kids when you got this $100,000 mortgage, $200,000 car, all that. You ain't putting none of that back into these children that you claim that you care about killing themselves. All y'all do is the same old basic crap, giving away Thanksgiving turkeys, giving away clothes, giving men fish all the time to make it seem like you're doing some crap, and you ain't trying to change their mindsets. You completely teach the same crap at church on Sundays, years on end, teaching the same crap to make people feel good about their badass situation and keep giving you money, and ain't nothing changing. Y'all not doing nothing of no actual substance. All you're doing is the same crap that looks like you're supposed to be doing some, oh, we provide people with this, we can help people find that you're not doing nothing of consequence. Y'all done had these churches since before I was born, and I've made a bigger dent than you have in 3 years. That makes no sense, which is why they hate me so much. They can't stand me. They hate me here.
That's crazy.
It is what it is.
It's all right. If you want to move, Indiana has plenty of places.
I can't leave. I cannot leave.
The fact that they dislike you is because of how strong and how positive of an impact that your message has been over what they've provided over the many years that they've been standing institutions?
I think it's the main fact that I don't need them, and I will make sure that they know that. Many people, Albany has this little clique of pastors and head politicians, or everybody has this little clique here. Once they realize I didn't need them, once they realize I can go on Fox whenever I want to, or go on CNN or whatever, they realize that none of my donor class is in the city of Albany, or I don't even need anybody that Like, we had this little backroom meeting after I went on Fox. We had some head guy of another nonprofit head guy, all these presidents of the nonprofits, and we had 2 other guys in there. Only one of them was on my side, but they like, okay, well, we're just saying, if you stay good, in good with us, you don't have to worry about nobody bothering you. You know what I mean? Like, basically trying to tell me, oh, if you get with the program, right? If you get with the program, we ain't gonna bother you or whatever like that. Had a
mafia tactics,
right? Exactly. It was literally a mafia meeting.
Government.
And it was a mafia meeting basically. And then had a meeting with the number one pastor in Albany. He's like, well, son, let me tell you something. You ain't that special. You need to stay out of media. You need to do this and that. You ain't special. I'm like, okay, cool. all right, I'm gonna show you how not special I am or whatever, because I'm gonna keep exposing y'all for what y'all not doing, because all the crap, that I'm doing. Why haven't y'all opened those schools? I've asked why the churches ain't got no farmland. We literally have only one side of town has a grocery store. All the other side of town, they don't have no grocery stores, dog. But you know what churches was doing when the grocery store closed down? They outside the damn grocery store protesting the grocery store is gonna make them stay open. You stupid idiots. How about all 400 of you churches get together and reopen the grocery store? How about you go buy some farmland, hire some people from the neighborhood, and make your own Baptist church cannon where you can all the vegetables and anything. I'm like, we can make it happen in our community. We have the funds. Y'all got the government assistance while y'all ain't supposed to be in the pulpit preaching politics, even though y'all do having candidates come in there and all that stuff like that. Even y'all ain't supposed to. Y'all got progressivism killing our communities. Got the people. Every other surrounding community is thriving. Leesburg, Georgia, Tifton, Georgia, Warner Robins. All these cities are thriving, getting new business, all that. You know what's happening in Albany? We are the lone blue city surrounded by all these red cities. All the red cities are doing fine. We the one lone blue city in turmoil, literally. And they gonna keep pushing the same crap, telling people to vote for the same people at these same churches in they same clique. They can't stand me because I don't need them, and they can't find no dirt because I ain't no but 22.
Dude, I gotta say, man, it's good. I live in Indiana and you live in Georgia, because you'd have my fat white ass out there with you, because you got me my pulses raised. I'm like, get him. You got my old white ass out there in front of this church going, yeah, fuck you.
I don't even bother them.
Special.
I don't mention their names. I don't talk about them. I let them do all their little videos. I let them talk about me as much as they want. I don't care. And I continue doing my work. One thing people are always going to notice about me, the work is going to beat them every time. You can't argue with results. You can't dispute the results at all. And some people, around here got this old King Randall's gotten arrogant. The difference between arrogance and confidence is results. I'm telling you what I've done. Y'all are arrogant because y'all can talk about what y'all can do and ain't did it. Y'all the ones that are arrogant. I'm confident because I have the results. And I don't even talk about it all the time. I let my work bear witness. I let parents make posts about what's happening with their children. I let my boys' grades come up. And, they'll hold my students, they'll hold my kids, to a higher standard if they have any of my gear on, around the city of Albany or something, because they know they're coming through my program, and I have people, my boys who may participate in other organizations, they'll try to talk about me to my boys, etc. Just little stupid stuff like that. But again, that's where I have to fortify their minds to defend the vision. And that's something extremely important that I'm, going to start working on, as far as teaching them what it is that we're doing. What is our mission? How do we combat anybody that has something to say about what we're doing because they are not doing it?
Well, so let's talk about that, like specifically, because I know you've talked about growing food, welding, changing brakes, changing tires, different things like that. What some of the stuff in the kitchen, things of that nature. What's like the arsenal of skills that the boys are learning? Yeah.
So of course, basic academics, but the school will be in 3 phases. We'll have preliminary, where we'll begin with the boys getting like an initial strength test, seeing what they can do physically, seeing what they know knowledge wise, what is their reading level, with a grade level for reading, etc. All those different things. We're going to introduce them to firearms, etc. To begin with. Phase 1 will include teaching them martial arts. It will include teaching them nutrition. It will include teaching them how to swim. It will include teaching them firearm safety. It will include all these different things, field training, camping, etc. How to find food. Regardless, all those different things we'll be teaching in first phase. Second phase will fortify those things. So the first phase of firearms training will just be working with the firearm, how to break it down, how to clean it, how to aim down your sights, all those different things to begin with. You won't fire a weapon until second phase. When you get to second phase, this is where we'll start teaching you how to actually fire the weapon, how to actually maneuver about, in the wilderness and things like that, how to swim really good, because we can teach you how to swim, and then we're going to teach you how to survive in the water. All these different things, as well as, basic welding and working on automotive repair, etc. Phase 3 will be go into us training you into being that man. And of course, to graduate our school, you'll have to pass all these requirements. You will know how to swim before you graduate. You will know how to properly use a firearm before you graduate. You will know how to weld. You will know how to do a basic oil change and brake repair. You will know how to change a ceiling fan. You will know how to kill an animal and skin it. You will know how to find water. Their last graduation requirement will require them to be out in the wilderness for 72 hours with an instructor who cannot speak to them. They will be there for 72 hours. They will find water. They will find food. They will figure it out for 3 days. After you pass that last part of your phase, then you can go on to your graduation. After that, when you after you graduate the school, then we'll have a fraternity that we're creating for the boys to be able to join. So that way, once they leave the school, they still have a network of boys who have come through the school, who can help them out, etc. Because some of them may not go to college and may not be able to join all these other fraternities, whom I think are really sweet, because all the little stuff they be trying to make them do to join, like swapping spit and swapping egg yolks and all that garbage, and can't none of them freaking change no dang light fixture or freaking grow no food, but you know how to dance, you freaking sweet things. But anyway, we'll have a fraternity that we're creating, for our boys to be able to join, so that way we'll have networks for them. I'm constantly building bridges for them. People have reached out to help the boys from all over the world. So what I want to happen is when one of them may move to Australia or China or Japan and be doing their own thing here and there, but we're still connected under the umbrella. So if one of the kids need to go to China and do something, I'm like, look, you got a brother who went to the Life Preparatory School 5 years ago, and I have connections over there in China. Go over there and talk to him. He can help you figure out what you need to figure out in China or Australia. Or you want to paint? Okay, well, one of your brothers has a paint company. Go join him. I want to create that full network for the boys to be able to have and to even execute the vision of transforming the city of Albany to what we want to see it as within the 5 to 10 years. So that's kind of like a brief idea.
Sure,
all those things, all those things go into other things like just the basic firearms training, etc. Like all those things we'll dig into, as well as teaching them family training. Like at night, when it's time to go to sleep, we'll have these discussions about family. They'll receive a lecture from me every Sunday. Just these different little things that we'll be doing at the school. But all of it will be ever evolving. Like I don't like how curriculums remain the same for 20 years. That is impossible because times change, so our curriculum will be ever evolving. In 5 years, the children may need a new type of teaching, so I want that to happen. I want to make sure I'm always remaining a student myself. So just many different things. That's kind of just a basic idea of what life prep looks like.
I think it's really
I want
important to contrast.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Everybody wants to
I do want to.
Like everybody said something.
Yeah, I know.
I know, right?
I've been waiting to point this
Yeah, go
out.
ahead.
Let me just point it out. The number one thing I think all that's fantastic. The number one thing I think you need to continue doing is building bridges. You need some allies, and you need a lot of them, because what a lot of this reminds me of is some of the minus socialism. What a lot of the people minus socialism. What a lot of the people who started the Black Panthers had in mind. Building their own community, teaching and building a community, and so you're going to get attacked, and you're going to get attacked pretty massively as soon as you start becoming really successful and it starts growing outside of your city. You're going to get a lot of people attacking you, and you're going to get infiltrators. You're going to get people that are going to hurt, and the best way for you to insulate yourself from that is to have allies, to have people, not just in the Black community, people like us, people like anarchists, people like libertarians, people like reach out to those MAGA people again.
That's why Fred Hampton was killed.
Right. Yeah. And so I want to see you succeed. I want to see you get as big as you can. I want your ideas everywhere. I want it to go as far as it can go. And so I want you to survive. And
of course.
So I want, I just really want to encourage you to build as many bridges, and we'll do whatever we can within our community, within the anarchist community, to encourage people to support what you're doing. So that's what I wanted to say.
Absolutely. I think it's important that we build bridges. And Fred Hampton was killed at 21 because he was rallying all different types of groups, together. because we all have our different things that we may do. We may have different little goals or whatever, but if we all can agree that we want our communities better, I don't care how you want to get there. You do your thing, I do mine. But as long as we want this community in a better place, I don't care what you got going on in your circle. You can worship Satan for all I give a damn. As long as you are taking care of what needs to be taken care of in the community, do your thing.
Nico, what were you going to say? Because I had something I wanted to.
Oh boy. I was going to ask,
Now Nico froze.
Nico froze.
Now Nico froze. He had PTSD.
Are you kidding me?
All right, you're back now. Go ahead.
I might have to go turn off the news on these people downstairs. But my thing is that what I appreciate about what you're doing is you're bringing back the real idea and understanding of what being a man is. The true sole provider of absolutely not everything, but for the most part, everything. And I want to understand what would be I guess your 5 real solid basic values of being the man that you're teaching these boys to be.
Okay, got it. I think I got it. You said my 5 main values and what I'm teaching the boys to be. Okay, well, I always consider the Extra Boys to be a man-making machine. That is our little thing. It's a man-making machine. But I definitely want to start with encouraging commitment, and discipline and love. And I think everything happens with love, compassion, and mutual understanding. That's what I think, makes a community go around: love, compassion, and mutual understanding. But honor, courage, and commitment, obviously, those are Marine Corps values. But however, they resonate. They are important. Everybody needs those: honor, courage, and commitment. Something you can be committed to: having the courage, having honor, showing love, and having discipline. I think all those 5 things, are what makes a man, to me. I mean, of course, there's many other things that come into play with that, but those 5 main things are what makes the man-making machine and the Extra Boys.
Awesome. So the contrast I wanted to draw was what you described as what going through your school looks like versus what a traditional education looks like, and what one thing prepares you for versus what the other prepares you for. And look at where we are as a society right now, where people are desperate because they don't know what they're going to do if the toilet paper runs out at the store. They don't know what they're going to do. They don't know what they're going to do if their Wi-Fi gets turned off.
Yep.
And you're talking about, you better be able to find water. You better be able to kill your own food and skin it yourself. Keep yourself warm. Build shelter. My boys and I, we watch this show. I don't know if you've seen it. It's on Netflix. I think it was on National Geographic. It's called Alone, where they drop these people off in the wilderness in the Arctic, like northern Canada. And they drop them off there right before winter sets in, and they've got to go out. They get to bring 10 things. You get to bring a hatchet and I don't know, maybe a gill net or some shit like that. And you go out there and you have to figure out, you got to build your own shelter out of whatever you can find. You've got to put it up. You've got to get your own food. You've got to keep your food from predators, because the Wolverines will come eat your food while you're sleeping, shit like that. And it's really interesting to see how things are because sometimes, I mean, I live in Louisiana. We have hurricanes come through, power goes out. You might be without power for a week. And people go batshit crazy over that. And I'm like, it's cool. We got a generator. We got gas. But I wonder if it went beyond that, go a month, 2 months with no power. People lose their damn minds.
Right. And I think it's important for us to be trained for those things. I was watching, I think this show about the Olympic park bomber. Yeah, but I wasn't really concerned about him while I was watching it. I was concerned about the people who were, keeping him and were trying to, help him when they didn't know he was terrible. But the way in which they were set up as a community, they had food storage, and everybody knew where to be when something popped off, and everybody was firearms trained and everybody knew like where to go in the forest for certain things. Like, I'm just like, this is what we need to have. Like when the power go out and all that, like even I even want to have us a newspaper. Like the reason I want to have a paper newspaper is because we don't know when phones may go out or something may go down. I need my boys and our families to know that you're going to still be able to communicate with everybody based off this paper, because you're going to get it every week. I need us to be able to learn how to communicate without cell phones, etc. Where do we go? Where do we look for, this, that, and the third, if things pop off or if things happen? Right now, I promise you, nobody in Albany knows what to do if the power goes out and everybody's stuck. Like nobody knows what to do. But these things need to happen. You don't know what type of warfare may happen one day where we need to fight, and stuff like that, for the country or for ourselves or whatever, being properly firearms trained, doing drills all the time. This is going to be constant training, for our boys. Our boys will have to do qualifications, like even in our fraternity, things you're going to have to do every year. You're going to have to make sure you pass swim qual. You got to pass rifle qualification, all that stuff just during the year, just to make sure you still up to speed on everything, because you can lose some of that stuff.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
So you have to make sure you kind of re-upped on all of those things, because you'll kind of forget it. So all these things are important, but you never know what can happen. Like we live in this nothing could ever happen to me, type of way, and I'm just like, we never really know what can happen. I think that's important.
In a way, we're like a victim of our own luxury. Like
exactly.
we have allowed ourselves to become victimized by that.
Beyond it. If you take at least a good 75% of Americans and drop them into Haiti, they would all go batshit crazy. So I know for a fact that there's and that's what is kind of antagonizing and like really, really annoying is the fact that as a group of boys, we've needed something such as the Boy Scouts to kind of give us a false idea of what manhood is, or you.
Nico has the best feed, right?
The things like we've lost the true troll by. What happened now? Oh boy, did I lag again?
Trial by fire, we lost trial by fire. You said, yeah.
Yeah, no, but we've lost the idea of what a true trial by fire is, and you're putting these boys back into what fire is. You got them creating their own fires, for crying out loud. And the real idea of being a provider, that just solidifies it for them. How am I going to provide the necessary tools to fix this situation? And you're always providing go-getters, and that's actually beyond what majority of these school teachers are doing by just writing a passing grade on a test. Like, you are showing boys how to be leaders, how to be men of not just their own personnel, but men of their families, and men of society, true men of society.
Right.
So how do you necessarily do you keep in contact with like majority of your students being like a principal type thing, or how does that work? Like, how do you
my boys I'm sorry, my boys, they're always in contact with me. We're always doing something. I try to make sure I remain consistent. That's the biggest thing that our boys are missing is consistency. So I don't do like this one program here and then never see them again. People think that they can just do one event and like, oh, I helped some children. Like, no, dude, like you really got to get down and consistent with these children. Like, they don't even trust you until you've been consistent with them. And even allowing them to make mistakes, like, children are going to try you and things like that to see what you'll allow, all those different things. But remaining consistent with the children is important. So they're always, have an open line of communication with me. We're always able to talk about anything that they wish to talk about. That's how I try to, keep it for them, just making sure that they're always having contact with me for anything, calling me for anything. I had a situation just happened like literally before the show started, but all these things are important. You got to be able to, communicate, even their parents, being able to have a direct link to me at all times. All these things are important. They're able to reach out to me at any time.
And absolutely. Then part 2 is, are you thinking, or do you know people who are possibly thinking of a program to rehabilitate men into being actual men, not like coming at like, well, no, I'm coming at it like a majority of the men that are saying they're adults, but they're not really adults. I'm sorry for the people who feel offended, because that's your ass. But like,
kids are kids.
Is there a program that even though you're still, focus is the kids, you're doing so much. Are you ever thinking of expanding and like reinstituting manhood into like men of like now's generations and the ones that are above you?
I don't think that's my fight. I've thought about it, but I feel like after working so long with trying to work with people in the community and trying to help others, etc., I just feel like that's not where I am. I feel like I just need to be helping my generation and younger. I feel like the older generation, like even with our fraternity, you're not going to be allowed to join a fraternity over 25. You can't. You just can't. You just can't join if you're over 25. That's your decision making part of your brain is developed. You have your mind made up. It's hard. It's hard to teach. It's hard, but it's hard to teach. But all of them have to be able to learn all those things I talked about in those graduation requirements. But as far as older gentlemen, especially trying to teach older guys, half the guys here hate, like they ask parents why do they send their kids to me, etc., because I'm only 22. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Like the people that listen to these people, like I have no clue like why they listen to these people. I swear to God, like the angry people at me in our city are like older 50-year-old guys and 30-year-old guys, like just talking all this trash, literally for no reason. I don't bother to talk about them, nothing. I don't even acknowledge them. But they have all these narratives. Why y'all sending y'all kids to King Randall? He just, oh my God, he's too young. He done sold his soul to the white man. He just, oh Jesus. I'm just like, what? I'm like, but y'all listening to these guys with no empires, no wives, nothing, just on Facebook talking trash about racism all day. Ain't got no house, no car, nothing. But oh yeah, they got to be right because folk around here be waiting to not like you for a reason anyway. So they just come up with all these different narratives, and they like, yep, I knew it. And now everybody's like, yep, he said he sold his soul to the white man, so it must be true. I'm just like, what exactly would the white man need with me teaching kids how to read books or change tires or change brakes? I'm like, they like, oh, he paid off by politicians. I'm like, I don't even do political commentary. I don't share any candidate stuff, nothing. Like only if a candidate decide they want to come help us with something, sure, I'll post a picture with them, but look, that's about it. Like, they just come up with all this type of stuff. I just be like, Jesus help them.
When I was a little kid, I'm going to date myself here. When I was a little kid, I was like 10, 11, 12 years old in the 80s. And my parents are from this little rural town in central Louisiana. And not far from there is where, I don't know if y'all remember, there's a receiver for the Dolphins, Mark Duper. They called him Super Duper. He played with Dan Marino and them. Anyway, he's from around there. He's from Moraville, like in Avoyelles Parish out there. Well, he came back and played in like a softball tournament. Dude, the people, I'm in the stands. I'm like 11, 12 years old. I'm in the stands and I'm listening to these grown people clowning this man who's like a millionaire playing in the NFL, clowning him in the stands, joking behind his back where he can't hear him and everything. I'm like, bro, you might never, and I'm not saying you have to always make it out of wherever you are and that leaving the place where you grew up is the height of success or anything like that. But it's like, like you're clowning this dude because he's in the NFL. You would kill to be in his spot. You're clowning him just because you ain't him.
Right. Exactly. They hate you because they ain't you. That's how that works, man. But I just let them run their mouths.
About your soul and where it goes. I know you quote scripture a lot. Do you mind before you head out getting, because that's one of our big topics that we like to talk about a lot is spirituality, God, faith, religion, those sorts of things. What's your background with that, and how does that animate what you do?
Yeah, I grew up in the church. I played the drums my whole life. I just retired from playing drums at like 19. I retired. But I played my whole life. I've always been in church. My grandmother's a pastor, or she's a preacher, excuse me. She was a pastor, but she's a preacher. My mom was a pastor. I lived that life my whole life. I've always been in church. And that helped me out, a whole lot. I would say, because my grandmother was able to, help instill in me certain things, but I think it didn't really click until I got older. And you know how when you're a teenager, you go through that little phase of, well, is this real? And all that, I went through that little phase or whatever until, things happened. But then I think once I realized that Jesus and I had the same daddy, that's when things took a turn for me. Like nobody really sits and thinks about that. Like you was made by the same person that made Jesus, right? So why is he special and not you? So I try all my life for people to see me walking on water. That's what I do. And I look at that in a figurative space. You know, I'm just like, I mean, watch me walk on water. Jesus came to show, you know, what you could do. You know, and that's what I want to do. I want to show my boys what you could do. I want to emulate the footsteps of Jesus, as we should be trying to do. You know, and what's happening to me is literally what happened to Jesus. Jesus said, "A prophet is with honor everywhere except his hometown." You know, so that's kind of how that works. You know, but those of the children that are coming under me and watching what I do, you know, I have to pay attention to myself and keep myself accountable. But spirituality plays a huge part in what we're doing. The scripture teaches us, as a man thinketh, so is he. And our communities bear witness to the way that we're thinking. So what can I do to change the mindsets, of our children? I think that's extremely important. The scripture teaches us also, it says, let us make man. I talked about this before. People have their own little things about it, but I'm just like, it says, let us make man. So I'm assuming God needed a little assistance. So I'm going to assist him with making these men out here in this community. And I think that's what something that he would like for us to do instead of just letting them die. And I always tell them, like, fight for young black men before they die. Like, what's with this wanting to fight for them while they're in the casket? Like, that's doing them no good. That does nothing for them. Fight for them while they're alive. Like we talked about George Floyd. Well, what about all these kids out here that have a metaphorical knee on their necks that are saying that they can't breathe? Are you going to stand there with the camera like you did with George Floyd and just record it and talk about it, but not go out here and do anything? That's what I call to stop the violence meetings. I call those recording what's happening. I call that recording what's happening to, the kids. You're recording the knee on their necks. You're not doing anything. You're saying, stop, don't do it, stop, but you're not engaging. You're not being active. So I am trying my hardest to remove the knee from their necks because they're saying they can't breathe, but are we helping to help them find oxygen?
You're not trying, big dog. You are doing, and you're more than just doing. You're succeeding with more expectation than people would give you. Like, goodness gracious, G, like I said before this, I need to do better. Like, I feel like I'm gonna just at the end of this podcast, I'm gonna knock on my neighbor's door like, yo, come outside. Like, what can we do? Like, what can we do to make this better?
But that's how it's supposed to be. That's how it should be. But we should go next door and do that. Yes.
Exactly.
Sure.
That's the lack of what we do. And when you create men, when men will create.
Nico has the best feed. You should have like a little ta-toom for Nico feed.
Yeah, it's usually when he's going to drop a gem.
Yeah, right. Right. Like Nico's got the gem ready to drop, and he's just like, and it's like,
hey, wait. Actually, it's about that time, ladies and gentlemen. So I haven't mentioned this before, but thank you for King Randall. This man is bringing not just knowledge to the feed, but he's bringing eyes, and with eyes there come pockets, and with pockets that mean $5. So with $5, join our Patreon and most definitely be somebody who doesn't need to get patronized for not joining the Patreon, because you need to be a part of what we're trying to do. And what we're doing is building for a bigger and better community, and not just with
Hey man, Nico, this is the best part of the show. This is the best part of the show, dog.
Oh shit, man! Nico, y'all donate us some money so Nico can fix his internet. He's got to upgrade to the high speed.
If you can. I just need an internet router. Like, if like somebody can buy me another router, I'll take AT&T.
Lane.
I
see Sharice Lane in here. I didn't even see her. Oh, she just popped in. All right.
Yeah, I'm looking at the comments.
Shout out to Sharice Lane. Shout out to Ken and Hotep earlier. Hilawe is in here. Ken and Hotep said he's sorry he wasn't there in Baltimore. Or you didn't get to see him in Baltimore.
It's all good. I'll be back. I don't drink, unfortunately, but I can have some juice. Yeah. Juice.
Shout out to Natasha, Kayleen, and Hotep Daryl, and all the folks who came in. I wanted to one real quick thing before you go. I know we're running over a little bit, but
all good.
you talked about how, you know, when you found out that you and Jesus had the same daddy, that you said, why can't I walk on water? I'm gonna do everything that I can. Do you think that people use what is supposed to be this this distinction between us and Christ as an excuse to not do great things?
Yes, all the time.
Not be the saints that they are capable of being.
Facts.
All the time. We use that all the time. And you know what Jesus also said? Greater work shall you do. Oh my God.
I was looking for it.
Somebody, where my organ at? Where my organ at?
I know.
Marcus is looking down for like 10 minutes looking for that quote.
Guys, Jesus said,
I
greater
knew
work
it. I just-
shall you do. Oh my God.
Yes,
Somebody,
indeed.
man,
Yes, indeed.
y'all don't hear me tonight. Tell your neighbor and say, neighbor, Jesus said, greater works shall you do. And
Right.
Jesus said, greater
Yeah,
work
man.
shall you do.
okay,
Right.
we through with church. Let me stop. I ain't trying
no,
to
we're
get on
never
my
done
high.
with church.
Look, it's real. There's a quote. I'm not gonna try to direct quote it, but I'm going to paraphrase it. There's a great quote where someone says, "There is one reason and one reason alone," and this will be both terrifying but also very optimistic, depending on how you look at it. The only reason you are not a saint right now is because you do not fully want to be.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
The exact quote I was looking for, and I don't remember where it was I think it was in Matthew, but I could be wrong. It was very similar to the one that King Randall mentioned, but it is something along the lines of, you can be everything I am and more. And, you know, for those that watch this channel often, I'm not a Christian. I don't believe in that the Bible is infallible. None of that
Yes,
stuff.
Jesus.
I don't believe in any of
Church
that.
time.
But I do believe in God, and I think Jesus was great. and so I want people to follow that example that you're laying down. And you would want to think that a God, if there is some kind of sentient God, religion aside, he's going to want us to leave this world better than what we received.
Of course. I told people before, people were like, oh, when Jesus come back, I'm like, no, y'all better be scared of Jesus when he come back, because when he see the condition of our community, he gonna put his foot in your ass. That's what Jesus is gonna do, because Jesus is gonna come out here and be like, you mean to tell me I came down here and did all this crap and showed y'all what to do, and
What
your
did he do in the
communities look
temple?
like
What did he do in the temple when he found what they were doing in the temple?
I don't know why they try to. They be trying to make Jesus out to be this sweet old dude. Jesus wasn't sweet. Jesus was a warrior. I know in Revelation it talks about Jesus coming back with a sword dripping with blood. So I don't know about this little sweet Jesus everybody else be talking about, but the Jesus I know was a warrior, and he was out making shit happen. That was just is what it is. So I'm like, y'all better be scared of Jesus when he come back, because I don't think y'all ready for him. He's gonna come back a little pissed off looking at the conditions of our communities while y'all talking about y'all waiting on the rapture to do some work.
For sure.
That's right.
Dude.
Hey, he coming back with some Air Jordan chocolates
for sure.
and
He
beating
is.
ass.
Hey, Jesus gonna have on some black forces.
You feel me?
He gonna come in church like this. Yeah, freaking right. Look, the first thing he gonna say is, yeah, depart from me, for I never knew you. Get out of my face. What you thought this was?
Right. What's gonna shock a motherfucker? I'm telling you right now, if Jesus comes back and let's say I'm not totally fucked up, let's just say that. Let's pretend. And Jesus and I are gonna have a conversation. I'm gonna be like, dude, all right, you came back. I buy it. Done proved it. Got it.
Right.
And I'm gonna stand with him because I stand with truth. And he is the way, the truth, and the light. And at the end of the day, he is the lion of light. And I will ride that lion every way I can to truth. And God didn't give us this world to give it to oligarchs and authoritarians. He gave it to us to give to our children.
Right.
And so what you are doing is God's work. I don't care what anybody
Thanks.
says. I don't care what your pastor that down the road says. I don't care. What you're doing is God's work. And I don't give a damn if anarchists want to attack me because you're not an anarchist. You sound an awful lot like a fucking anarchist. I'll just be honest. You sound an awful lot like us. And at the end of the day,
well, in a lot of ways, he's probably doing more to do his own shit than a lot of
most
keyboard anarchists are doing.
Right.
You know, like real anarchists should be like trying to like build their own school and buy their own land and teach the kids instead of trying to like overturn the fucking public school system or some other bullshit or whatever other shit. Like it's like he's doing actual hands-on work. Anyway, go ahead, finish your point, Mark.
My point was you may not be an anarchist because neither am I, because an anarchist means that I'm practicing anarchy. I live in a state, so I can't practice anarchy. And yes, Chad, to your point, I live more in an anarchist state than I live in a state. I get that. I understand that. But at the end of the day, the state still fucks with me. But what you are, King Randall, is you are an anarch. You are. There are monarchs. There are oligarchs. You are an anarch. You don't have a master. You are not a fucking slave. And you have set up other men to not be slaves. So I want you to continue that work. I want you to build it. I want you to do everything you can because people like you will make people like me relevant. Because once we get past all this nonsense that they preach every fucking day in every Congress and every Senate and all this dumb shit that doesn't actually do anything, when we get past that, it's going to be people like you that are going to be the people. You know, I love Murray Rothbard. His theories are right on. He's right about more than I can count. But it is people like you that are going to make the visions we have come true. So I want that, and I want that soon.
And whatever we can do to help besides, I mean, we have all your links down below, but whatever we can do to help as well. Like I wanted to help promote what you're doing and to make it more, more profitable for the boys in your community and everything. But the other thing I want to do, I had asked you at the Solutionary Summit when you were up on stage about like if there was anything like a blueprint to like, how somebody like me could do something like this in my community and everything like that. But I think maybe more important is like just learning from your example as fathers to teach our boys and then starting to branch that out into like the boys who are friends with my boys and then maybe some of the kids in the neighborhood or nearby neighborhoods and just to start doing that sort of stuff to make sure that we have more of these kids who have more of that like self-sustainability of themselves. What is there anything else you could offer in that line of thinking that besides just trying to start another Extra Boys somewhere else that maybe has a different name, but somebody does something that kind of mimics the work that you're doing in their community?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for starters, I'm about to work on creating a workbook for teenage boys. Not a book to read, but like a workbook, a self-help workbook. For teenage boys to be able to develop themselves, if they're not in the program or not around me, or other men in their communities could use these workbooks to help other young men in their communities help develop themselves. So I think that'll be a nice little start. I just don't have the full blueprint yet because I'm still working on completing my vision. I just want to create, my idea of what heaven is, here on earth. Jesus said, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." So with that being said, I feel like we can create that here on earth. The kingdom of God is in you, and heaven is the kingdom of God. So obviously we should be able to bring that heaven here. And that's what I want to try and create, for our boys. But for people, in other communities that would like to do something of this nature, I always say just do something. It doesn't have to be, what I'm doing. It doesn't have to go, as deep into it as I am. It could be something simple as taking somebody's child to school every day and, you know, mentoring them and buying them something to eat, find a family to feed once a week, go volunteer, you know, with your local, whatever that's doing, whoever, you know, just all of that, you know, I think that's, you know, extremely important. But just doing something is what's going to help. And if everybody does something, if everybody tries to find a reason to make somebody smile, you know, during the day, imagine if everybody was trying to do something for each other, you know, our communities would be in a better place.
Absolutely. And you started off with this not necessarily being the vision that you had, and it just, you know, it morphed into this, right? And so like it's sometimes it just starts with something small with a small effort, and it's you're absolutely right. The doing those little things, if everybody did those things, and to that point about like the voting versus that, like how much better off do you think we'd be if the people who's all the time they spend with campaigning and sharing campaign videos and tweets and all this other stuff and yelling and arguing on Facebook, if they spent that time instead going and doing stuff in their community?
Yep, those people who
would be relevant.
Right, those people who all I see is drama online, and all I see is you doing podcasts talking about this, that, and the third. I don't take you serious anymore. I don't have time for that. I don't have time for drama. I barely have time for interviews, but I make time, you know. But I'm just like, how do you? Yeah, I'm like, how do you have so much time and so much work needs to be done? That seriously, you know, is stupid, but it is what it is. You know, we can tell people all day why they shouldn't be watching folks and giving them money. I don't even see how people will sit here and watch somebody talk and want to give them $500 for talking. That makes no sense. You know, I'm just like, that does not sit right with me at all. I'm like, you pay somebody $1,000 just to sit here and run their mouth. That makes no sense, you know, but it is what it is. So that's the way the cookie crumbles.
I think the most important thing, and I think this kind of culminates what your plan is and what your goals are.
Oh, he froze too.
You got Nico's house, Marcus.
Oh yeah. I'm not the only one. My bad.
All right, can you see me now?
Yes.
Yeah, we good.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
And let's buy Marcus some internet too.
Okay. Right, for sure. No, what I was trying to say is to kind of kick this into the idea off is what you seem to be saying to me, and what it seems like your path is tell everybody, start walking. God will put a road in front of you.
Absolutely.
That's that. Find your work ethic, and then you'll find your purpose.
Absolutely. Yep. I have one like last quote that I always give from one of our hometown hero rappers. His name is Cantrell. He says, obstacles are optical illusions. They're not really there. Jump high anyway. Jump high just in case.
Nice.
Damn. That's good stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And with that, I think it's a fair time to what's that? What, Marcus?
I was just going to say, I wanted to thank him for coming.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, for
you
sure.
know,
yeah.
The stuff that I've watched, maybe I'm, you know, a little biased, but I've watched a lot of your stuff. Not everything, but I've watched a few things, and you know, this has been one of my favorite interviews with you. I've enjoyed the hell out of it.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
Thank you
We had
very
a lot
much
of
for
fun,
coming
and
on.
you brought so much knowledge, and we really hope that we can do whatever we can to help what you're doing, but also to help do our own thing. You know, we want everybody out there who's watching this, listen to what Randall said. This man is 22 years old. He's given more wisdom on how to help our communities than a lot of these people who are 2, 3, and 4 times his age. Let's do that. Let's go out. Let's do, and not just for Thanksgiving and Christmas, but go help year round. Do stuff year round.
Every fucking day.
It's not just when you feel guilty because you have so much and you're being thankful on Thanksgiving. And so, well, let me go give a turkey. Like, okay, what's that person going to do the other 364 days?
Right.
So, absolutely.
Shit it out and forget about you.
Right.
Exactly.
So we got to. This has to be a
is.
year round effort, and we've got to do everything that we can. And it starts with taking care of your own shit first. Take care of your home. Make sure that your kids aren't the kids that need somebody to do that stuff. Yes, that's right. Sharice is exactly right. He's just getting started, and
oh yeah, man. Oh, I
we're
love
happy to
when
see it.
haters, dog. I love when haters be mad. I'm like, man, y'all, man, this is only practice. I'm just getting started. This is only practice. They can't even keep up with my practice, man. They can't even keep up with the practice.
Protect King Randall.
That's right. That's right.
But all
Protect
jokes
King
aside,
Randall.
man, as long as we're taking care of our boys, the women will eventually follow. I know I get people ask all the time, about girls, but I'm just like, our women are in the condition they're in because of the lack of us, being there for them and us taking care of our communities. And I think that's important. So as long as the men are, requiring more of them, they're only going to give, what the men require in the communities. And I'll give an example before we hop off. My boys, my younger brother, his birthday is tomorrow, actually, turned 16. But my younger brother, we went to July 4th fireworks show here in Albany about 3 years ago. And while we were there, the girls were there. They were half naked, of course, but they were allowing like random guys to come touch their butt and stuff like that. Like, and he just like, why are they letting them do that? I'm like, well, that's what they require. That's what the men want. That's how they get the man here. I said, but once we saturate the area, with men who don't require that, with men who require something more than you,
the market will deliver.
Exactly. They will change automatically. They will follow the man. And then at that point, we can teach our women.
And young men and even older men have treated women like disposable objects for long enough that now they're kind of returning the favor. I saw one of these threads somebody put up a while back. I had to get off of Twitter when I got about 3 things deep into this. This woman was asking for people to text their stories about like what they really meant when they said they were sleeping to their boyfriend or something like that. And you don't want to know what they were saying.
Hey,
it was bad.
Hey, the game is the game.
The game is the game. Yep. But
women are apex predators for a reason.
Yeah, but when you start to cultivate a different type of environment, you grow better men and better women.
Absolutely.
It's just natural. And when you spray pesticides and all kind of trash, you throw all your garbage in the yard, you ain't gonna grow shit. It's all a bunch of toxic shit in there. So all you're gonna have is weeds and a bunch of shit with thorns and everything on it. It's not gonna be anything good. So no, I appreciate that. That's big stuff. Keep it up, and thank you again so much for coming on. This has been great, and we wish you all the best. Everybody go check out in the notes below. Check out King Randall's stuff. Go to theexforboys.org, right?
Yep, that's it.
And check him out there. Amazing stuff, amazing work. And I can't believe like you're 22 years old and you started this when you were 19. It's amazing. And I can't wait to see what this thing looks like as you go forward. And we're going to do everything we can to help. For Marcus, for Nico, and for King Randall, I am Chad. We appreciate you guys joining us, and go check out the Patreon and check out the Teespring store. Get your merch and get your support for the show on. With that, Marcus, send us home.
Stay free.
Peace, everybody.